Welcome back to the Daily's Double Shot.
I'm now Tombros.
And I'm Natalie Huyen.
In this episode, we check out the first university night of student performances at the Neptune Theatre.
We speak with the former editor-in-chief of the Daily, John Keister.
Stuart Marlentez discusses freeware in his second installment of Tech Talk.
We check out how UW researchers are connecting medicine with video games.
And humans battle zombies, again, but this time with new rules.
We also have a new women's basketball coach, Kevin McGuff.
And squirrels! All coming up
on today's Double Shot.
Ooh, what is that? Chinese.
Yeah.
I'll see you there. Okay.
Hey, did you hear the Neptune Theatre reopened?
Okay, cool. Let's go watch a movie later.
No, it actually got reopened as a live performance theater.
That's awesome. What kind of shows do they have?
We actually covered the first university night of student live performances. Let's take a look.
The U District's well-known Neptune Theatre hosted the first of many university nights last weekend, a collaboration of performances by the UW's drama, music, and dance departments. Vicki Lee, Director of Education and Performance Programs for the Seattle Theatre Group, tells us more.
Tonight we initiated what we call University Nights, which is an opportunity for student talent from the University of Washington to perform. We came up with this name from looking at the history of the Neptune Theatre, and they used to have University Nights here beginning probably in the 1930s.
The Neptune has been around as a movie house since 1921, but this September it was converted into a performance venue by Seattle Theatre Group.
We really tried to contemporize it, but keep that wonderful historic feeling. We have lots of community events, concerts, and comedy, and look for great things ahead.
Last weekend's University Nights showcased performances by the UW schools of drama, music, and dance. Haley Scott, a dancer, participated in an improvised piece in which 7 dancers were paired randomly with 7 musicians.
The musicians and the dancers are both selected completely randomly, and then you throw them up on stage and see what happens. It's really fun. It's just kind of an exploration of what the musician is feeling like at the time and what I'm feeling like at the time, and then we kind of have a conversation through that process.
Along with the dancers and musicians, actors from the UW School of Drama performed an excerpt of their upcoming show, Harp Song.
Things happen in this world.
Yes, you seem very popular in the camps. What is that, Arturo? What is it about you that the men are so drawn to?
I like people.
Do you like people?
Yes.
The Neptune and the UW Drama, Music, and Dance departments hope for more collaboration in the future.
We expect a lot of great things from the University of Washington in the future here at the Neptune. Because we're neighbors, we want to give both students and faculty an opportunity to take this as their venue, their place to do performances, open mic, whatever great creative ideas the university may have.
I'm excited to see what they'll come up with next.
Stay tuned for more university nights happening throughout the quarter.
Off to check out the new University Night show. Natalie?
Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about all the cool people that have worked here at the Daily.
Oh, like who?
I did a story on John Keister, a former editor-in-chief.
Oh, is he doing well now?
Yeah, check it out.
John Keister, a comedian and writer, is also a University of Washington alum. He hosted such projects like the local comedy program Almost Live and continued with other endeavors such as the John Report. He is currently an instructor at the Seattle Art Institute and the head writer of Biz Kids, a nationally broadcast television show. John decided early on that he wanted to be a writer. At the end of the Vietnam War, he joined the Daily and became the editor-in-chief. For this interview, John met up with us at the Daily to revisit his days as a journalist.
I had decided really early on that I wanted to be a writer. And I thought when I came out of high school that, well, you can't teach someone how to be a writer, you just write. But I was unbelievably lucky. The people who were in this room, in this very room, the journalists were probably some of the best.
After working with journalists that later became Pulitzer Prize winners and novelists, Keister tells us how he found his voice and interests after working at the Daily.
When I came in, I realized I liked journalism better than I liked writing fiction. I liked the immediacy of it. And then when I got into television, I really found my voice on television, but it was because I took the first step into journalism that I got finally into where I was supposed to be.
John Keister entered the University of Washington at a time when feminism was on the rise. He tells us what he used to write about as a journalist in an era of change.
I wrote more about just sort of cultural things that were going on, the different roles between men and women. I mean, this was just the beginning of the feminist movement when I was at the UW, and the world is a fundamentally different place than it was 30 years ago because of that movement. So I wrote about kind of changing trends and things like that. What I found after I graduated from the Daily is most publications, with the exception of things like the New York Times or whatever, are pretty timid about going after people, because they're afraid of some sort of legal background. But essentially, what I learned here was that you don't really have to be that timid.
After college, John joined a newly founded magazine, The Rocket. He spent a few years interviewing rock bands, which eventually led him to working for King TV to do weekly wrap-ups of the music scene. Shortly after, he joined the cast of Almost Live and later became the host. Working at the Daily helped him with this path.
Being associated with the Daily was what completely set me on my path later in life. Absolutely, it was without a doubt the most important decision I ever made was to answer the ad that was in the Daily. Hey, we're looking for writers, and I thought, well, I can write for this paper. Sure, I could do that.
John reflects on the friendships and memories he made at the Daily.
There was a lot of great memories, but I would say, in general, it was that I made the best friends that I ever met. They're still my best friends to this day, 30 years later. My best memory is just working on the stories with my friends. We thought that we were doing something very important. And because we were doing it together, we were sort of egging each other on. We're like, we were cheering each other on. And I don't think I've rarely had that kind of feeling for the rest of my life.
Working at the Daily was a helpful and fun tool for John and other writers of his time. When giving advice to aspiring writers, the first rule he says is, write what you know.
Man, software's expensive.
You can get it for free,
It's illegal.
No, you can get free software online. Stuart Marlentes has a tech talk about it.
Send me the link.
Going to college is complicated enough. You've got classes, scholarships and financial aid, homework and midterms, not to mention a social life as well. Not everyone has the time to become a computer science major. That's where I come in. On Tech Talk with Stuart Marlentes, I'll answer all your tech questions without the complications. Today on Tech Talk, we're going to talk about free software. The financial situation of a college student is well known. In short, we're pretty strapped for cash. We need to cut costs anywhere we can, so why not in software? Instead of paying hundreds for office applications, productivity software, and operating systems, you can get great alternatives for free. Let's get something straight. I'm not talking about piracy. In theory, you can get any piece of software online for free, but often this is illegal, and I'm sure you don't want to get into battle with the copyright holders. What I want to discuss here is freeware. This is software that you can download and use for free, legally. There's tons of it out there, and it often outperforms its costly counterparts. Instead of paying for Windows or Mac OS X, you can get an operating system for free. Try Linux. For beginners, I'd suggest Ubuntu or Linux Mint. Note, if you're a student here at the UW, you can get Windows for free online. Pretty much everyone knows that Microsoft Office is expensive. It might seem like it's the only option, but it's not. The alternative, LibreOffice, does everything Microsoft Office can, but at no cost to you. It can even edit documents made on Microsoft Office software. Microsoft Office is also something provided to UW students for free. Alright, so Microsoft Office has an alternative. But what about Adobe Photoshop? Look no further than GIMP, the GNU image manipulation program. It's powerful and completely free. If you need something simple, Paint.net works well too. Macs don't have a lot of security software at this point, but if you're on Windows, you'll definitely need some. There are actually quite a few choices in free security software on PCs, but the best by far is Microsoft Security Essentials. It's lightweight, fast, and powerful. I use Security Essentials myself, and it works great. Ripping CDs and DVDs and converting media files is often a costly experience, but not with the trio Handbrake, Adapter, and either Image Burn for Windows or Burn for Mac. Each of them has its own specialties, but if you've got them all installed, you'll probably never run into a file conversion or ripping job that you can't handle. Now you can save yourself some money on software. If there's a utility you need that wasn't covered in this installment of Tech Talk, a good place to start is the Lifehacker Pack. This is a collection of software by the blog Lifehacker that covers almost every category you'd need. Thanks for watching Tech Talk with Stuart Marlantis. I'll see you next time.
I'm glad we watched that. I thought free software was always illegal.
You know, there's some free stuff online that can actually save lives.
No way.
Yeah, way. Researchers created a video game that has biomedical application.
That's awesome. I'm going to download it right now.
Yeah, let's take a look at the story.
Researchers at the Center for Game Science and David Baker's lab at the UW have recently collaborated to create an online video game called FoldIt that is helping to solve real-world diseases. FoldIt players fold virtual proteins to find their correct shapes, which is important for research in the development of medicine, but can be difficult to determine. Firas Khatib, a postdoctoral researcher in David Baker's lab, tells us more.
What we do here in David Baker's lab is try to use computers to basically simulate and predict how these proteins will fold. So that's kind of how FoldIt came into effect, basically having humans guide the computation. And so in this particular case here, this was a protein that went unsolved for 14 years. All the experimental methods to solve it had failed. So for 14 years, those methods didn't work. Using all the computational power that we have here, but the FoldIt players were actually able to come up with it in less than 10 days.
The protein that the players solved is related to AIDS and can help in the development of new drugs. Seth Cooper, the creative director of the Center for Game Science, explains.
What this protein actually does, it's related to causing AIDS in rhesus monkeys. And the idea is that now that we know the structure of this protein, you could sort of try to start to design antiretroviral drugs that might sort of inhibit its function and prevent the disease.
Though FoldIt begins with a tutorial teaching players the basic skills of protein folding, most gamers do not have a scientific background. Firas thinks that games like FoldIt can be incredibly useful in education.
We asked a lot of these players, how much biochemistry background do you have? And most of them told us, none, or I haven't taken chemistry since high school, right? They've basically been able to gain a certain level of expertise in protein folding, starting with none whatsoever. And then the other cool thing is then they passed it on to all the new players that come in and all that. So really, it's just a great educational tool. And we use it in high schools. It's been used in textbooks. We have universities that ask us to post specific puzzles for their classes.
Current projects involve creating more games that will contribute to education.
So we're actually starting to look into games based on teaching fractions and using this kind of long-term engagement and evolution of the game. So once the game is online, you can actually gather data from how people play it, where people get stuck, and you can actually change the game over time to sort of become a better learning and teaching tool for the players. And so we actually want to try to take this to apply it to education as a whole, starting with fractions.
FoldIt shows that humans and computers can work together to solve real-world problems.
It's really a proof of concept to show the power that humans have. I think in tandem with computers, using the two together is a lot more powerful than just throwing a lot of supercomputing power at it, or just throwing a lot of gamers at it without any computer. That wouldn't work either. So I think it just shows you need both.
Scientific discovery games like FoldIt are creating new applications for video games.
I think that is hopefully the direction that some games will be going into, but you're still always going to have games where you shoot bad guys.
Hopefully we can sort of show with FoldIt and these kinds of results that gamers have a lot of power and a lot of potential to try to solve problems.
But it's a game with a purpose, and a lot of the FoldIt players have told us, the reason I'm playing this is, when my family members has, cancer or something like that. If there's anything I can do to help, that you get a sense of pride when you're playing this game, and so that's why so many people invest so much time in it.
Find out more and play FoldIt online at fold.it.